Hey guys, welcome back. I hope you are having an amazing day. Let's get right into the stories. The first one is an entitled People Story. I've lived in my house for over 15 years now and never had any issues with the Homeowners Association. I keep my property looking nice, pay my dues on time, and overall just mind my own business. That's why I was shocked one Saturday morning when I got a knock on my door from Susan, the president of the Homeowners Association. "Good morning, Susan. What brings you by today?" I asked politely. She had a stern look on her face and responded curtly, "I'm here to address your shed issue." Now I was really confused. My shed issue? I'm not aware of any issues with my shed. Well, according to our measurements, your shed is encroaching 1.5 feet onto community property. This is unacceptable and against homeowners association rules. You'll need to move it immediately, she stated matter-of-factly. My confusion quickly turned to anger. This shed was here when I bought the place and was shown as being fully on my property by the seller. "Susan, I think there must be some mistake. This shed has been here for over 15 years without any complaints. Are you sure your measurements are correct?" I asked. "I'm positive. Our contractor surveyed the entire neighborhood last month and flagged your shed as non-compliant. It needs to be moved back or torn down completely," she said sternly. I took a deep breath to keep my composure. "Can I see the survey results you're referring to? I'd like to review them before I make any changes to my property." Susan scoffed. "I don't have time to bring you the paperwork. The board has voted and the decision is final. Fix it in the next 30 days or we'll tear it down and charge you for the removal." Now my blood was really boiling. How dare she threaten me like that on my own property? "Susan, I'm going to need to see proof of this supposed encroachment before I take any action. If you can't provide that, we have nothing further to discuss," I said firmly. She glared at me angrily. "This is your official notice. I'll be back in 30 days to inspect the changes." "Good day," she snapped before marching off my porch. As soon as she left, I pulled out my property survey from when I bought the house. Just as I remembered, it clearly showed the shed as being fully within my plot boundaries. There was no way I was going to let Susan bully me into tearing down my perfectly legal shed. But I knew I had to be smart and strategic in fighting back. First, I went to the county clerk's office and requested official copies of my property records and surveys. I wanted indisputable proof in my hands before things escalated further. Next, I rallied support from my neighbors. Many of them had sheds, fences, and other structures that were now apparently violating the new Homeowners Association guidelines. Nobody was happy about it. Together, we demanded a full accounting of the survey results and a review of the Homeowners Association's decision-making process. We figured out they paid a contractor who did a quick and sloppy job, resulting in ridiculous errors. At the next Homeowners Association board meeting, things got heated. Over a dozen homeowners showed up with documents, photos, and other evidence contradicting the contractor's survey. Susan tried to stick to her guns, but it was clear she was backed into a corner. After an hour of tense back and forth, she admitted there were possible errors in their data. She promised to review everything before taking further action against any homeowners. I wish I could say that was the end of it, but Susan lived up to her reputation as an uncompromising bully. A week later, I got another official notice saying my shed still needed to be demolished or moved per their original instructions. No mention of the flawed survey or the board meeting at all. This time, I took a stand and sent a strongly worded letter from an attorney threatening to sue the Homeowners Association for harassment and unsubstantiated demands. I made it clear I had definitive proof my shed was fully compliant, and I would pursue legal action if they continued to target me unfairly. I also showed I was prepared to put a mechanic's lien on the Homeowners Association property if they took any unlawful action against my shed. That finally got Susan to back down. I received a letter from the Homeowners Association board saying they were dropping any enforcement actions against me and apologizing for the mix-up. It was a half-hearted apology at best, but I had won this battle. I also found out from neighbors that I wasn't the only one who received threatening notices about sheds, fences, and other items that were fully compliant just a month ago. Susan was clearly on a power trip, abusing her authority as president. The next one is a pro-revenge story. My older sister, let's call her Rhea, and our mom have always had a very difficult relationship ever since I could remember. Rhea has always been headstrong and not afraid to ask questions. My mom was a very traditional, devout Christian who put family above everything first. Bit of a background. My mom was the second eldest of 9 children and moved from the Philippines to the US. She grew up dirt poor in a small province and experienced firsthand the hardship that comes with taking care of a big family. She was the first of her family to graduate college and has always valued education as a means to get out of poverty. She has paid for 4 of her siblings to go to college, only 2 actually completed and went on to find jobs, and has also paid for several of her siblings' children to go to good schools in the Philippines. Ria had more exposure to the extended family than I did. She was born in the Philippines, I was born in the US, 7 years apart. As she got older, she was very outspoken about how she did not agree with my mom financially supporting some of her family because Ria felt as though they were abusing my mom's generosity, especially since mom was frugal with our expenditures here in the US. When Ria was in her last year of high school, she had a bad falling out with my mom and moved out. They did not speak for 5 years, although my dad and I kept in touch with Ria. In that time, Ria worked full-time and paid her way through college without any help from my parents at all. Fast forward a few years to my high school graduation, I invited Ria. She attended and ended up reconciling with my mom. Things were still rocky, but they had a much better relationship. 2 years ago, my mom passed away. Unknown to me at the time, Ria had quietly taken over the continued financial support for my mom's youngest sister, Jana, covering the cost of living and maintaining the college fund for Jana's daughter. She also took care of the funeral arrangements and handled the estate. Dad was a mess at the time. Last year, Ria and I decided to spend the holidays in the Philippines. One of our visits was to Jana's place. Little did I know that things were about to escalate when we sat down for dinner. After some small talk, the topic of my mom came up, and this was how that conversation went. Details may be lost in translation, so I'm providing the gist. R. Ria. J. Jana. J. Such a shame your mom passed away. We will miss her. R. Yes. J. Ria, why did you stop talking to her? Why did you leave her? You should be ashamed. That's not how you treat family. Now your mom could have raised you better. You always were too headstrong, that's not ladylike. You shouldn't be so aggressive. You need to be softer. How are you going to get a man otherwise? She continues along these lines. R. J. turns to me. Don't be like your sister, okay? Be a good daughter. Do you have a boyfriend yet? You don't want to get too old like Ria and not have your own family. That's not following God's plan. Before I could speak, Ria asked her own questions. R. Why did you drop out and decide to get pregnant when mom was paying for your college? Did you really think that businessman would leave his wife to take care of you? If you wanted to be a trophy wife, you should have just said so, instead of wasting my mom's hard-earned money. At this point, I just decided to watch because Jana was starting to annoy me, and Ria has been known to deliver epic takedowns. J. Enraged. How dare you come into my house, eat my food, and disrespect me? R. Calmly. Technically, it's my mom's house. You have food because my mom has been supporting you for the better part of 15 years, and you disrespected her by wasting all the opportunities she worked hard to give you. J. I don't need your attitude or your bullcrap. I don't need anything from you, you disrespectful idiot. Get the hell out of my house, more ranting. R. Gets up and smiles. You sure you don't need anything from me? You don't want anything from me? I want to confirm that I heard you correctly. J. I don't need crap from you. I can take care of myself and my family, and how dare you imply otherwise? Get the hell out of my house and your father will hear about this. R. Looks at me. You heard her. Let's go. Now I was surprised by how calmly Ria was taking the diatribe because I've seen her and my mom get into massive shouting matches. More confused than anything, I followed her to the car. R. You heard her right. She doesn't need anything from me. Me. It begins to dawn on me what my sister is about to do. Yeah. R. Okay. We get back to the hotel, and my sister promptly stops the auto transfer of funds for Jana's account. We then spend the rest of the week lounging by the beach and hanging out with other cousins. Yesterday I was talking to one of my cousins and heard that Jana is just now realizing what actually happens when you run out of money. I called up Ria shortly after to give her an update. R. What? She ran out of money that quickly? There was enough in there to last her the year. Me. Oh, did you tell her that? R. Basic math. Me. Will she lose the house? R. Nah, it's paid for. As long as she doesn't do something stupid, she should have a roof over her head. Me. Did you also close her kid's college fund? R. Nope, not gonna punish the kid for her mom's stupidity. But that's all she gets, so if she messes it up, she messes it up. So yeah, it will definitely be interesting to see how this plays out in the next few months. I have a feeling my sister probably won't give a damn one way or the other, though. The next one is a petty revenge story. A little bit of backstory. I attend a small college in CA, and I'm a biochemistry major. Since my school is small, for all of my core classes, chemistry/biology/math, I tend to see the same people every semester, which is great because I've made a lot of friends and have a great study group. I'm in my third year, and since my first year, I've had a lot of classes with this one girl who is an absolute brat. She is rude to everyone all the time and is always trying to copy other people's work, etc. Last year, I had her in my chemistry lab class, and after a particularly rude encounter where she butted herself into a conversation with a friend of mine, told me she didn't have time to do the pre-lab work. Which, one, it's not a lot of work, and two, is really important if you want to do well in the class, and then basically demanded I stop what I was doing to help her out. I flat out refused and made it a point to not let her sneak over and try to just copy my work for the rest of the semester, even though she never stopped trying. After this encounter, my friends and I started referring to her as EB for entitled idiot. End of backstory. It's now the fall semester, and I got extra lucky this time around, so my favorite people to study with are in the same class with me. For the first week, our professor had us set up 3 4-person study groups on our online class section for various projects for the semester, starting with a large group assignment of review work, which will count for a decent chunk of points. We are stoked and immediately sign up for a 3-person study group with myself, friend 1, and friend 2. So the next day we are sitting together and look online at our course and see that a person we don't recognize named Jane has joined our group, which is odd. After some asking around, EB comes running up to us with the biggest sly grin on her face and says, "Hey guys! Yeah, that's me in your group." It's clear by the look on her face she has joined our group specifically for the purpose of getting an easy A, which annoys the hell out of my friends and me. So we're just like, okay, cool, and go sit down for the lecture. We have a week to do the assignment, and so we make arrangements via email for each of us to work on specific parts, and then meet up a few times to finish it up at school. As we suspected, EB doesn't respond or show up, because at this point we know she's relying on us to just do the work, and she can grab her free A. So we do the work without her. The day the assignment is due, my friends and I are in class early to go over the assignment one more time with a group next to us and compare answers. EB walks in about 5 minutes before the start of class and sits down in her usual spot in the back row. We look back at her and she says, "Hey guys, could you just write my name on there for me?" Yeah, this person is so lazy she can't even walk 15 extra steps to sign her name on work she didn't even do. Now, my friends and I were pretty annoyed with her, but in that moment I had an idea, winked at my friend and yelled back, "Yeah, we already got you, girl, you're good," and shoot her a thumbs up. Lol, forget that noise, we all fist bumped each other under the desks, wrote just our names, and turned that work in without her. My friend decided after class to let our professor know what happened after EB left, and our professor agreed she shouldn't get credit. Grades aren't back yet, so it just warms my heart that for now, EB still thinks she outmaneuvered me and got full marks on work she stole, and she acts just so proud of herself for it. Enjoy your 0, EB. The next one is a malicious compliance story. A bit of background. I work as the sole IT guy in a firm with about 75 people that is part of a larger nationwide mother firm. Our local firm has an ongoing agreement with another local firm that we serve as backup for each other in case either one needs help, backup, knowledge sharing, or whatever. This has been the case since 2009. I have worked for this firm since 2002, kind of an old hat if you want. We have this generous leave package that grows the longer we work here. A new hire has 180 hours per year of leave. Someone with 20 plus years has 240 hours. I have that. Now, because we have this much leave, I'm of a mind not to be too strict with the when and the how. I'm single and have no kids, so I'm happy to let others with kids take priority to handle school holidays. As such, for the last 15-something years, I have always taken the bulk of my leave in September, October, and the rest on Fridays, counting back from New Year, if that makes sense. The only rules we have regarding when and how we take leave are no more than 6 weeks together, You can't transfer more than 7 days to the next year, and leave must be approved, which it almost always is. Enter my big boss. As per usual, I submitted my leave request for September, October, somewhere in May. This got approved. Around August, we received news from our hardware vendor that they would be installing our new server cluster at the end of September. Not cool, but what can you do? I talked it over with Big Boss and agreed to move my leave to February, March of the next year. I didn't mind too much. He was happy, I was happy, and we went ahead and planned it all. Enter my department head. Since I am a one-man department, but corporations are going to be corporations, I have a department head that oversees my department along with a few others. Somewhere at the end of September, he walks into my office and asks me when I am planning to take the bulk of my leave. I told him about the server cluster installation and that my leave is moved to Feb-Mar. Now, one cannot be a department head or part of management and still be reasonable, right? So he tells me that since I won't be taking my leave this year, it will be forfeit. I tell him I have an agreement with Big Boss, to which he states that he talked about it with Big Boss and that the arrangement won't work since he didn't approve it. I take my phone and call Big Boss. He states that indeed my leave will not be approved and can't be moved to the next year. So I tell him, okay. Enter MC. I was pissed. Not just angry, but genuinely over the moon, ready to murder someone pissed. So I took a half day, went home, and mulled things over. With age comes wisdom, and I know not to make decisions when I'm that angry. The next day, I went in and asked for a leave statement from our HR department that has a counter of all our leave and, more importantly, overtime. I had around 700 hours of overtime accrued over the years and 220 hours of leave. So I put in 5 weeks of leave, 1 week of overtime, 5 weeks of leave, 1 week of overtime, and so on until I landed in the first week of January. Then I put in the remaining overtime and landed at the end of February. In addition to that, I submitted my resignation and 3 months' notice, which I planned to coincide exactly with the last day of my leave. Not half an hour later, my big boss and department head are at my desk asking me what's going on. I told them that since the department head had told me I couldn't transfer the leave, I would be taking it this year, and since the agreement to move my leave was broken, I felt I didn't have another choice but to look for other work where agreements are, in fact, honored. I asked them which rule in the worker's manual regarding leave I had broken, and if there was any, could they point it out. After that conversation, I went home and the waiting game began. The next morning, my big boss called me on my work cell asking me to come in. Sorry, no, I'm on leave. I'd be happy to make a pot of coffee if you want to drop by. So he dropped by. We talked things over. It seems his department head wasn't entirely upfront with him, although he wasn't innocent either. And he wants to make things right. My 6 months of leave remained in place, and he offered to match the offers I would get from other firms to keep me on board, within reason. Conclusion. All in all, I still work for the same firm, now with a 15% wage increase. I don't do overtime anymore. My laptop no longer comes home with me, and my work phone stays at work too. I still do my job to the best of my abilities, but at the end of the day, if my hours are done, I go home. The building could be on fire, but if my clock is out, I am out the door. Now my leave gets planned around my preferences too. No more shifting around other people's leaves. The next one is an entitled people story. I am having a house built, but I bought a TV during Amazon's Prime days. I had it sent to my grandparents' house to be stored until the house is done. The package never arrived, and after a couple of days, the picture from the delivery finally appeared. I sent it to my grandfather, who recognized it as his neighbor's. He called the neighbor, who claimed that he had ordered the same exact TV and didn't realize he had opened mine. The neighbor said his TV is coming the following week and that he would give me his as it's the same exact model. A few hours later, he said, I called Amazon and they said for me to keep this TV and for you to call them so they can replace it. I told him that my refund replacement had already been denied multiple times and that I was told to contact law enforcement, but I would call again. The next morning, I called Amazon and they told me that my claim was denied again and that I should still try to retrieve my TV since I know where it is. I called the neighbor, who is now saying he has to send my TV back when he gets his. I told him not to, that I want my TV even if it's open. He's an old man, so I was using yes sir and no sir. I was trying to be polite, as he has my expensive TV. He hung up and sent me a long text about how he has my TV and won't be giving it back. And I just said, "To verify you're refusing to give me my TV?" He called me back and told me to stop harassing him. So I drove over to my grandfather's house, he is out of town, and called the police. After several back and forth phone calls with the police calling me and the neighbor, they came out. 4 police officers showed up because the man said I am committing fraud and cheating him out of a TV. After I showed the police the texts where he says he has my TV, pictures of the box he sent me with my name on it, and where my refund was denied, they went to talk to him. He changed his story for the 5th time to say I had already received a refund and that I am trying to defraud Amazon. At the end of the day, I got my TV back and the neighbor called my grandfather. My grandfather called me, saying that I discredited him. He meant defamation. He said that I called the police on his neighbor and cheated him out of a TV. The neighbor is claiming he won't get his package now because he was supposed to keep mine. This old man was so entitled he thought he had a right to my TV. I don't think he even ordered one in the first place now. Thank you for watching. I would really appreciate it if you could like the video and subscribe to our channel if you haven't already.